In our society, one crisp winter night, frost on his shoulder blades and mumbling a strange, unintelligible language we now know as Go. After a series of scientific experiments, he gained the ability to bend space and time and is now able to be in multiple conferences, multiple hashtags, multiple time zones all at the same time. And if you ask him about Kubernetes, he can hardly contain himself. He is Kelsey Hightower.
All right, so we're going to talk about NoOps. This is a very important topic, I believe. How many people know what NoOps is? Good, not a lot of hands, because I don't think people do. How many people, when they hear this term, makes them a little angry? It's okay to be angry. Just don't hit anything. So back in 2011, this guy Mike, I'm going to call him Mike G, from Forrester, coined this term, NoOps, right? And most people just read the title and was like, this guy's an idiot. They just missed the whole thing. But in 2011, I think this is kind of maybe towards the peak of this whole DevOps thing, and a lot of people are starting to get it. And he made the claim that DevOps is a step backwards. All right? It's a step backwards in many ways. And to me, I don't attack this person, but I want to know, what does he mean? Because when you're in operations, the business is your customer. And when the business starts saying things like they want to go to NoOps, it's very helpful to listen what they're talking about. You don't have to agree, but I think it's worth it to listen. So most people read this article, and this is all they got out of it. That was a formula in one of the first paragraphs. No plus ops equals NoOps, right? And what are they saying when they say this? Now, some of you got really mad, and the next thing you said is, one day they'll claim you won't need the server. They're doing that now. But it isn't real, okay? Like, you don't always need the server. I want to see the day where you can run an app without the server. It'd be magic. So what is NoOps? So if you read the whole article, here's the things he had to say. Now, applaud if you agree with the things he has to say. And you can boo if you disagree. Be loud, though, so it can be cool, okay? So the first thing was improve the process of deploying applications. Not just VMs, but also release management. Seems like you guys like this NoOps thing. And the last one, developers never have to talk operation. Honestly. So you can tell the environment that these people work at. I hate my developers. Anything that means they don't talk to me, I want to do more of. So what's this NoOps thing, okay? But there's something more behind this than just people not liking each other. And you really have to think about what the goal is. You ever try to rent a car lately? So I'm spoiled. I travel a lot. And when I go to like Hertz Gold. I don't talk to anyone. I go to the car and drive out. One time, I went to a place, there was no Hertz. I had to go to a counter. And they printed out some paper. They asked for my ID, and I was like, I just want the car. And they're like, you can't do that. You have to go through me to get the car. And this is what most people experience as ops at their company. I just want to deploy the app. And you present them with paperwork and a bunch of questions. I just want to deploy the app. Everything else is friction. And if you think about it, you work this way too. You do not prefer things that have unnecessary hoops that you have to jump through. And we used to be cool with this idea. Remember when we used to say this? I don't know, man, I'm a little older than some of you. I'm trying to automate myself out of a job. And this is how we used to justify doing automation instead of doing the mundane job over and over. It's like, if I get this done correctly, I'll automate myself out of a job, and I know I've succeeded. You know it's probably not possible, and we'll see why. But this is one of our goals. Or if you're really angry, you would say something like this. Like, you remember that? It's like, dude, stop talking to me. I'm going to replace you with the shell script. It worked too, because actually there are some companies that have actually shrunk their ops team. And there's a reason, because when you stop adding value and you literally can be replaced with a shell script, that's unfortunate, because you're competing with the shell script. I'm not going to pay you. So I'm going to tell a story. I don't like slides. That's the most slides I actually produce, right? That's like the most I've done in a long time. So I'm going to tell a story. So here's where I think we're driving this desire for NoOps. Analysis, right? When I learned about Kubernetes, oh my God. I took a flight home. I was like, Mom, gotta show you something. Right? She's like, what the hell is this Kubernetes thing? So this is what we do to our coworkers, right? We're like, oh man, I finally figured out how to automate everything. So you go to work and you're like, stop everything. Production's on fire, I don't care. I'm going to show you how we're going to do all the automation in the world. And you're just so excited. You're like, dude, kubectl, run, Nginx. Look at this. You can even tell it's an image. And then it's like going to be a container. And containers solve all problems. If your arm is broken, you put it in a container and then magically put it back on your shoulder blade. It's just magic, right? So you have this Nginx thing. And then we give it a version. And then we can actually tell it how many we want, right? This is amazing. So we'll say we want 3 of them. And then we can actually, let's just do this. So we hit run. Oh, we need the command. So I'm too excited. Replus equals 3. And then you're like, wow, look at that. Well, you type 1 command, and the app is deployed. And this is pretty amazing. So you say kubectl, get pods, and you see that Nginx is now running. Super simple. I can automate all the things. Then your developer's like, why are you showing me this? I just want you to deploy the app. What does this have to do with me deploying the app? Like, you're going to get Docker. You're going to install a bunch of stuff. You're going to install Kubernetes. You're going to learn about distributed systems. You're going to learn about etcd, Raft. You're going to learn ops. It's like, I have no desire to learn ops, actually. I got an app to write. So we're presenting all of our tools to people and asking them to get involved that way. Like, I remember when I was at Configuration Management World, and we're teaching people how to write configuration management code. Honestly, that is a step backwards for a lot of people. I have no desire to write a bunch of configuration management code to deploy my app. It is not cool. This is a leaky abstraction, in my opinion. So the goal of NoOps for most people would be your automation is so good that no one feels that ops is involved. We know it's happening underneath the covers. So what can we do better? So instead of giving everyone all of these tools, let me delete this. We need to do something a little bit better. We need to hide all of this stuff. As much as I love Kubernetes, I don't think I want to present it to everyone. What I want to do is just focus on them getting done what they need to be done. How many people work in an enterprise? Enterprise is tough. It's like you are not allowed to automate the whole thing, right? Because people want to approve things. Have you ever seen this? You show up with all your automation and you're like, hey, I got to be the approver. So I want to use Kubernetes in an environment like that. So let's get back to reality. So we got to do something different. So I managed this amazing feat, and I got Jira running in Kubernetes. Jira represents legacy to its fullest. It's hipster legacy too, because they got like some new features, but it uses like 10,000 gigs of RAM when you boot it. And the first time in a long time, when I logged in for the first time, it was like loading. And it had like a loading bar. I'm like, progress bar? We still do that? Jira does. So I got Jira running in Kubernetes. And I'm going to use Jira to kind of show what I think what people want as NoOps. So people still need to make the request. So I'm going to get the IP address of my Jira instance. So I'm going to log into this thing. So I think a lot of people at these companies, and I've worked at one, so this is why I can speak to it. So most companies are like, no, this is how we do automation here, okay? I'm going to open a ticket. You're going to look at the ticket, and you're going to do whatever it takes to get it done, right? So this is what most people want to do. So they want to come over here, and they want to create a ticket. So I want a new ticket to deploy something. And this project is called NoOps, because I hate all you ops people. Don't do that in Jira, you'll probably get fired. All right, so I want you to deploy Nginx for me. I want to use Nginx version 1.10. I want 3 copies of Nginx. Oh yeah, expose it to the internet and deploy Nginx, deploy my application, and it's always high priority, right? It's like, I don't even know why we use priorities, it's always high. So like, do it ASAP. It's like, is there anything like low priority? What happened? Oh, good job. At least I'm glad we have a stopgap in there. So this is why people are afraid of automation. Like, you just let anyone click the button? This doesn't work out well. It only works when I push the button. So we let them push the button. Yeah, exactly. So people get this ticket and they want to assign it to you and say, do whatever you need to do. So take these values, put in your little tool, and make it happen. This is what people want to do. So you can do that for a while. But then what you do is you can build some automation. So people want to use Jira. That's fine. I'm not going to argue with that. So let's build a tool that knows how to talk to Jira. So I have this thing called Jira Deployment Manager or Controller. And it basically goes to Jira and does some mapping of fields because you have to have custom field IDs because it's enterprise, but whatever. So we have this enterprise-grade deployment manager tool. And what we're going to do, what was that? We're going to deploy this thing. And what this thing will do for us is watch our tickets, kubectl, logs, and we just want to see what this thing is doing. So we deploy this thing. We're not going to tell anybody about it because they get all nervous when we do all this automation stuff. So you just kind of keep it to yourself. Right? So we have this deployment controller running. Don't say anything to anyone. Right? So what we're going to do is we have our open rec. And HR has crafted the best job posting ever. We're hiring a DevOps Ninja. Anyone here with that title? You actually have DevOps Ninja as a title? Oh, good. Whew. A little nervous. That's not a real title, folks. Do not put it on a business card. It's not cool. It never was cool. Like, you're not a ninja, okay? But we're going to hire one. So we have a ninja, okay? So we have this issue open, and we're going to assign it to the DevOps Ninja, right? So you go over here, and you say assign, not to me. Let's fix this. We're going to assign it to who? The DevOps Ninja. It happens to be me, too. This is my disguise. Don't worry about it. So we assign it to the DevOps Ninja. And then you wait, okay? Now, secretly, you have this thing going in the background. And it is the DevOps Ninja. We just haven't told anybody. It's double awesome if you collect the DevOps Ninja's paycheck. So what should happen here, please demo gods, do not embarrass me in front of my peers. Oh, they didn't. So this thing picks up the issue, processes the issue, and says it's done. Now, the end user, they're like, is my ticket done yet? I was like, I don't know, man. I thought we were doing NoOps. Why are you talking to me? So I hit refresh, and it says it's finished. All right? So now we go over to Kubernetes, and we see if it's working. Let's make this a little bit bigger. kubectl, get pods. We see that the Nginx nodes are working. Right? So this is awesome. The user feels that we're not doing any scary automation. We're not presenting our tools. So it doesn't matter if there's Ansible, Puppet, or Kubernetes underneath this. The UI is friendly to the user. They actually get to be in control and remove the friction. So the next thing we want to do is make sure that they can do all the updates on their own. Okay? We want them to be in control. So what we're going to do here is just loop over those three instances and see what version we have. So now the user wants to update their application. And again, we want this to be super easy for them. So I'm just going to reuse this current ticket, and they should be able to do anything that they want. All right, let's just create a new one. So we create a new ticket, and we'll call it Nginx again because we're going to update the same deployment. This time we'll update the new image. Let's bump it to 5. What the hell? Expose it to the internet this time. And deploy my ASAP again because it's always an emergency. So we hit create. We go to the ticket, and we will assign it to who? That's not a real title. You failed the test, but it's cool. So we give it to DevOps Ninja. So the user waits, and this is what's happening in the background. So you're off doing something else. So if this works, the DevOps Ninja automation tool should pick this ticket up. Come on. So we're hitting the app, and the user's like, what the hell's wrong with the app? I was like, I don't know yet. So let's hit refresh here. All right, so it says we're done, and there you go. You see the app automatically updating itself, okay? You should clap because that shit took me a long time. Like I said earlier, though, this is not the most valuable part of our job. Doing deployments is easy to replace, trust me. There are a lot of good platforms that have real ops people working on them that have encapsulated all that we know into those platforms. They're getting so easy to use that it's not valuable having expertise on how to deploy stuff. Seriously, the value on that is diminishing. So we have to do something else. So we need to actually focus on building deeper integrations, better development tools. So once you get your time back, once you automate all the things, you need to start thinking a little deeper. So as part of my automation, now that I have time free, I wrote some automation for Let's Encrypt. So I have this thing called the Let's Encrypt Cert Manager. How many people have heard of Let's Encrypt? It is fantastic if you haven't heard of it. Some hands didn't go up. Let's Encrypt is really nice because it lets you automatically grab a cert, verify it using some challenge. I'm going to be using DNS challenge. Grab the certs and keep them renewed. Okay? And you can automate this whole flow without ever having to talk to a CA or pay insane amounts of money for a certificate. All right? So we have this now integrated into our platform. This is good. So I've been building all this automation. Let's go back to the slide decks really quick. So this is how you feel. I don't have any more issues. Ops is not my problem. It's fully automated. I mean, you click the button. Now, I have to spring into action if the conveyor belt breaks. But this is the overall tone that you have, right? You should be doing other things. But reality is you're still getting calls. It's all automated. Why are you calling me? The truth is, in the world of NoOps, they're missing one key thing, is that I've never seen an app that had 0 bugs. Anyone ever seen an app with 0 bugs? Every release, you can count on it. And it's not just the bugs, it's that most apps aren't even operationally friendly, right? They don't even do things like automatically reload their own certificates when you change them. So most of our job has been compensating for poorly written applications, but no one wants to address that problem head on, right? Like seriously. So you should clap because that is pretty bad. So there has been this artificial hierarchy in most companies where the developers sit up here at the totem pole and ops sits down here to service what they build. Even in these fully deployed environments, we're still making all these workarounds. So how do we fix this problem? So I'm going to deploy one of our apps that at this particular company is called Hello TLS. Okay, so we're going to visit this particular app. I actually have it on real DNS. I'm using DNS for this demo, which sounds like a bad idea, but we'll see if it works out. So here's our application. It's super simple. It's a simple app that just grabs certificates from a file. They're issued from Let's Encrypt. You can see the serial number here. So this is a valid cert, completely works. The problem with this app, though, is if I ever want to change the certificate, I have to go and restart the app. So everything is automated until I get to the app. Then I got to restart it. Now, most people say, I can just write some scripts. I'll just for loop, find all the servers running this one, and for loop. Well, how do you find all the ones that are expired? I'll write some more tools. This is a complete waste of time. It's all fragile, right? Because you're going to do this for every app and every company that you go to. This does not scale. So I think the future of operations, we're going to have to move closer to the actual code base. Yep, you're going to have to learn how to program in the languages that your company runs. Full stop. I guarantee you that will be the thing that makes us even more valuable than we are today. So how do we do this? So I'm going to show you some code, not a lot, but I believe that everyone here that does ops, if you can write a shell script, you can write this kind of code. This is not complex stuff. So here's our app. This is what it looks like before we make our changes. The developers have an HTTP handler that just responds with hello, in our case, it shows the certificate details, and they just listen to HTTPS and start serving traffic. That's it. That's their only concern in the world. So we click on this to see, hey, our certificates are expiring. We need you to get a new one and reload the applications. So I look at the code base and say, look, this function, all it does is just read stuff off the disk, and then that's what you're stuck with until we restart the app. So this only happens on start. So I'm in ops, and my ops-minded mind is like, that's pretty silly. We should watch for the certificate to change, and if it changes, we should just reload it, because that's what you normally do with your scripts. We just do this from the outside of the app. So now let's say we start to actually hack in the same code base with the rest of the team, right? And you can maybe say that that's really what DevOps should be doing, but I don't think the titles even matter. Add value where you can. So our operational background will help us write some really good code. So if we look at this code, so what we're doing here, and I'll focus on part of it, we're going to use ifnotify, so tell the kernel, I would like to be notified if my cert file or my key file were to change. Pretty simple. We do this all the time. Okay? They're just going to write it in a slightly different language. So I have these watchers set up. So if those files change, ideally, I should know about them. The next thing I need to do, I have this code block. I'm going to focus here. that whenever I get a notification that one of those files has changed, I just want to reload the certificate in the app. And once I'm done reloading, I'll communicate this in the log. So the goal would be is I can change the certificate and never have to restart the application. So we've done our code, and here's where we're going to integrate. So we looked at the standard library, and it told me that I can actually pass in my own custom get certificate function that can just load certs from memory. So when they change on disk, I update the certain memory and pass it back to the caller on demand. So if this works and we write this code, I should be able to change my certs automatically and the app pick it up. Okay? So let's try that now. All right. So let's make this a little bit more challenging. So we're going to scale this deployment, this hello TLS, because it's easy if it's only one server. You can just go to the server and restart it. So let's scale this a little bit. How many replicas should we have? 10? 10 times 3 is 30. Okay. All right, we're going to go bold. All right, so now we're going to scale this up. Get pods. So now we have 30 of these things about to create. And they're going to be running all over the place in various servers. We have no idea where they are. Now, the last thing I want to do is write code to find them, to reboot them. The next thing we're going to do is cross our fingers for the demo gods, because we're going to now force a cert to expire from Let's Encrypt and get a new one. All right, so the way we're going to do this, all right, so we need to actually have a certificate. So kubectl get certificates. All right, so I'm going to delete the certificate. It's going to cause my certificate to have to be renewed by default. So I'm going to delete it upstream as well. All right, so kubectl logs. I'm going to watch the logs so we can actually see what's happening in action. And let's do this really quick. All right, so we see this thing is going to try to manage our certificates for us in real time. We're going to delete this particular certificate. So kubectl delete the certificate called hightower.com. Okay. So once we do that, this thing will pick it up, communicate to Let's Encrypt, delete the secret, delete the certs on disk inside of Kubernetes that populates to all my apps. And then we don't have a cert. So I'm going to create a new one that will force us to do a new renewal. So let's do this, kubectl create. I think this is in a different directory, certificates. So we're going to create our certificate again. So if this works, this thing will pick it up, contact Let's Encrypt, create my DNS challenge record, go through the whole flow, and hopefully grab a new cert. So while it's doing that, let's look at our app again and make sure that everything is working. So you see the current serial number. We're at 539. And what we want to do is get a new one, and then ideally the serial number should change and our app should still work. So this is one of the instances. I'm going to pop over here. Well, we'll just wait. Let's see how far along we are. So DNS looks like it's propagating. This is the most risky thing ever, DNS and cache invalidation. So we're propagating our DNS state, and it's almost done. So once this finishes, we're going to tell Let's Encrypt that it can go verify that our DNS record we just put in place is valid for the certificate request. And if this works, Kubernetes should automatically grab the cert and update Kubernetes with it. So let's do this. Come on, TikTok. How many people have faith that this will work? Ooh, lots of faith. The other ones are like, this dude's an idiot. DNS? Live? Not smart, man. Not smart. I'm kind of feeling a little nervous myself here. All right, so DNS propagation completed. Come on. So we got the cert, we put it in place, and now Kubernetes knows about it. And Kubernetes is going to automatically propagate that cert to every instance that's running on its local file system. Now it's up to my application to do its job and reload the certificate when it's ready. So what we'll do is we'll look at one of our instances. So kubectl, get pods, kubectl, logs. So let's just look at one of these. So we'll just pick one at random here. And then what we'll do is just tell it to see what happens. So it looks like it may have done it already. So it's telling me that we were watching for certs, and roughly 3 minutes later, we got some new certs. So maybe 5 seconds ago. So ideally, if this works, I should be able to refresh the application. And we have a new serial number. And I think that's what we will do as the future of ops. We will actually start to build tools and take our operational expertise and actually contribute to the code base where there won't be necessary workaround. So with that, no ops, no problem. Thank you.
So kind of on the topic of like moving some like logic like into the application, do you see like some sort of like auto scaling or that sort of like behavior moved into the app as well? Like,
so this is a good
who knows
question.
the most about that sort of thing?
So the question was, do we see things like auto scaling moving to the app as well? Honestly, I don't think so. So there's going to be some things that you do on the platform, like renewing the certificates for all the apps. That may make sense to do it there. That's kind of shared infrastructure, kind of like your logging service. Search will move into that world, metrics, things like that. But I think as an operations person, you'll have this special power where you can decide where things belong. If it's shared infrastructure, maybe you'll build it into your platform. So that's the other important thing. Like, now that these new tools are coming out, we have better abstractions for expressing these things. And we can do them cluster-wide and create these shared services, right? This is what the power of the cloud provider has done, that they've scaled operations at a level that anyone can just hop on and do those things. And I think you can do the same things in your own infrastructure as well. I think we're out of time. Thank you all, and I'll be in the hallway. Thank you.
Thank you. The perfect design for when I want to hide in the forest late at night and force lost children to answer riddles.
Uh-oh, she's after me.